Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Mama Birds. Today we are doing some canning projects, or at least one canning project with some cherries that I picked up. We also need to do some restocking of some pantry staples, so I'm going to do that with you before we do the canning project. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, my name is Robin, and I'm trying to do as much as I can home. So anything regarding home, cooking, being a mama. And my biggest thing is tips and tricks of how to get through it all, because it is not easy and nobody should have to do it alone. So here I am. Let's get started with some pantry restocks. I got to do my coffee and my salt, so I'm going to show you what I do. So salt and coffee are two things that I buy in bulk all the time. We don't have a preference of coffee. We buy what's on sale, what's inexpensive, and what is pre-ground. I don't have a coffee grinder, but this is what I got from Costco. This is actually less expensive than the smaller size tin. So I picked up a couple of these while I was there and stocked up, and we are going to restock my coffee canister. And then salt is also something that I purchase in bulk. I believe I got this at Walmart. It is a Himalayan pink rock salt, and it's really great. So I use it for everyday cooking, and I actually also use it for canning. So if you're looking for a kind of all-purpose salt, this is a great one. I do keep my salt in a smaller mason jar. This is 250 mils. These are typically used for salmon or sometimes jams or jellies, relish, things like that. And I just fill it up with salt and leave it on my counter so I can go as I am cooking. So I'm just gonna refill this, and I am gonna use a funnel. I use a funnel almost every day, but I'm gonna use it just to fill up my salt because it's a little easier to make sure I don't spill. It's easy as that. So this amount of salt we usually go through in probably 2 weeks. So it really depends on how much baking I'm doing. If I'm doing any sort of large stuff like pickling or whatever, then I would probably pull out this big guy to use instead of my small canister. But if I'm just doing some baking or whatever, I'll use the smaller one. But this will last us well over a year. Even with all of the canning and preserving that I do. With the exception of salmon curing, I do end up buying more salt if I'm doing some salmon curing, just because it takes so much salt. So this is about a year's worth of salt for us, and it works for us. It's great. Coffee is next. If you saw my video with the pancake mix, you'll know that I have these beautiful canisters that were gifted to me. They're a family heirloom on my in-laws side, and so I love them so much. I am missing one. I believe it's a set of 4, but it's okay. I love them so much. And this is the one that we use for coffee. So coffee is one of those things that, I mean, we're parents, so we drink a lot of it. But, yeah, I just top it up every week and go through it as we need. But I keep this large canister in our pantry, and I keep this one on our counter. It's just a little more pretty. Okay, and just like that, our canister is full. This is probably just over a week of coffee for us, so I'll put this back in my pantry and we'll just keep refilling it as we need it. Hey everybody. I'm realizing that it's going to be a little bit tricky for me to actually film all of the things and put them into separate videos for my plan for the day, but bear with me. I will have some sort of system eventually, and it will all make sense. Right now we're currently walking to the store. I got my little guy with me. Our go-to grocery store isn't far from us. We do a lot of shopping at Walmart, and we do some shopping at Costco. Our The store that's the closest to us is called Bilo. I'm not sure if that is an American or Canadian store, but it is within walking distance for me. So they do have a lot of discount type items and a lot of discount food and a lot of Canadian made food. So, or Canadian made products. So it's your go-to grocery store for me and living in my area. So that's where we're going today. But we do a lot of shopping at Walmart and Costco, and we do try and shop local as much as possible, but it is really difficult to get some things for our canning project this afternoon. So stay tuned if you're into that, and we'll get at her once we get back. The other thing I wanted to mention about Bilo is that there may be some, you know, different feelings about using that store or using a bulk store. But one of the reasons that I can justify it is my budget. Another one is their produce. They do a really good job at trying to purchase from local farmers in British Columbia. There's tons of stuff in BC, and that's what we're going for. We're going for cherries, and we are going to can them. If you are struggling with morals or whatever, you know, we're all just doing the best that we can. And if a grocery chain is what you can do it. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to feed our families and not go broke overdoing it. So we just got back from shopping, and I just wanted to share the haul with you, but I did pull out my kitchen scale to see how many cherries we actually got. I'm going to use this as a gauge for through the year and how many cherries we actually are going to eat through. I don't think it's going to be a lot, so I didn't get too much, but I did get quite a few, so I'll show you that and then the rest of the haul. But this is the best that I can do right now, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I just want to remind all the mamas out there that are doing their best to keep doing your best. If this is what you can afford to put up in your fridge and your pantry, do it. If you can afford organic, fantastic, and lucky you, and how blessed. But in the season of life that I'm in, I do not purchase a single thing from the store unless it is on sale. So I did get a few extra things. All I went for was some coffee creamer, so some half and half, and cherries. And I did grab a few extra things because they were on sale. So I'm going to show you the haul, and then I'm going to tell you how much I actually paid, because it is astronomical, the price difference that I would have paid. So this is the haul for the day. It's not huge by any means, but it will do us just fine for the rest of the week. We have our cherries over here. These are Canadian cherries, so that makes me happy. But if they weren't, or if they were not Canadian cherries, I probably still would have purchased them because I got such a good deal. So I got 3 bags of those. I think that that'll be enough. I'm gonna do 1 full canner load, and then the rest of them we will eat fresh. A small little pint of raspberries. These are super expensive and not something that we get on a regular basis, but I think that these were like $2, so I grabbed a little thing of those. Same thing with the herbs. It's not something that we typically get on a regular basis, but we've been eating quite a bit of macaroni salad and potato salad, and I just thought that dill would be really nice to change it up a bit. But these were also on sale. This is not something I buy. I also don't typically buy things that are in plastic like this, but that's what they had. And then our coffee cream. So coffee cream, cremo, or half and half, or whatever you want to call it, is for our coffee in the morning. The star of the show is the cherries, and that is what we're going to get started on here in the next little bit. I did the math on it, and there was just over 7 pounds of cherries there, and I paid $2.47 per pound for the cherries. So all in total, I paid $25 for all of those cherries. So I'm literally paying almost a quarter, just over a quarter of what the price would be for this product versus the organic cherries. And at the end of the day, that's what I can afford right now. So that's what I'm going to put up for my family. We are definitely going to enjoy these. We are definitely going to eat them fresh. I'm probably going to do I think maybe 5 pints so of the cherries. So for like reference, this is the size I'm going to be doing of the cherries. This is a jam size, so it's a bit bigger. It's actually double bigger. 250 mils versus 500 mils. So we're going to be canning the cherries in a light syrup, very light syrup. I don't like them sweet. The cherries are beautiful as they are. So, and we're going to can them whole because I didn't know you could do that. So no fuss, no muss. We're going to wash them really good. I'm going to use some baking soda and wash them up. And then we are going to water bath can them in a simple syrup that we will make. We are going to use the recipe in the Ball's Home Preserving recipe book. We're going to go to page 140 of that, and you will see that there is a syrup or sugar guide. You can take a screenshot of it if you need to. But we're going to use a light syrup, so 2 1/4 cup of sugar to 5 1/4 cup of water, and hopefully that'll be enough. If it's not enough, I'm probably just going to freeze or eat the rest of the cherries raw, whatever doesn't fit in these jars. So I'm hoping that that'll be enough, but we'll see. We'll see. So this is a 1/4 cup measure. And we're doing 2 1/4 cups. So I need 9 scoops. 1, 9. That's a ton of sugar. Okay, but we're gonna dissolve it in 5 1/4 cups of water. So we're just gonna dissolve this over a low heat. I'm not gonna bring it to an absolute boil, but just so that the sugar is dissolved inside the liquid there. And while we do that, we're gonna get all the cherries going and ready. So at this point, our cherries are washed, and under the towel there, we have the canner on the counter. It's full of hot water, and each one of these jars that I'm putting in is also full of hot water. The process is similar in comparison to pressure canning with this Presto pressure canner. When you water bath, you do have to heat up the jars or warm the jars before you fill them. So I'm just putting the hot water in the jars into the canner with hot water, and just so that they're slightly covered. And we're going to put on the lid, and the jars are going to heat up in the pressure canner. Hit play, and it'll tell us when they're ready to go. And in the meantime, we're going to fill all the jars, make sure that our syrup is nice and warm and to the sweetness that I'd like. This is actually a light syrup in comparison to other syrups, so check your recipe books for what it is that you're looking for. You can always taste it. It will be hot, so be careful before you put it in your mouth, because you will burn yourself. So just getting everything ready and sorted for putting the cherries into the jars. We're gonna fill them as best we can. Here's the lids. I don't actually boil the lids. I just put them in some warm water just to loosen those rings up a little bit. The squishy orange bit, I like to put them in some warm water just to loosen them up before I put them on the jars. So our canner has told us that it is ready. The jars are sufficiently warm, so we're going to take them all out, and then they will be ready for us to put the cherries in and our simple syrup in, and then we will wipe the jars down, the tops of the jars down with some paper towel and vinegar, because this is a sugary mixture and we want to make sure that it's super clean before we put the lids on. And that way everything gets a nice tight seal. So I'm just packing the jars with the last few cherries of the bowl. Out of all of those cherries that I purchased, I think there was only like 4 or 5 that were bad. So snack on the last cherry. And now we're going to fill them with the syrup. This is a super simple way to put up fruit on the pantry shelf. It is a great way for you to be able to control the ingredients that are actually in these jars. And I am super glad that I found out that I could do this without having to pit the cherries, because it is such a huge job. It's a huge and messy job to have to pit these cherries rather than just canning them with the pits in them. It is definitely an approved way of canning, so if you're scared, don't be. You can still do it. And one of the things too about some of the research that I did was conflicting was the actual time. Some of the recipes that I was reading, you only had to water bath can for 15 minutes, and some of them were saying 25 minutes. And for me, I probably would have been comfortable with doing it for 15 minutes, but this was the first time I had ever canned cherries whole like this, so I went with the longer time just to be safe. I don't think that there's any real risk in doing the shorter time, but I just went with the 25 minutes, and that's what's on the canner. And so whatever research it is that you do, just make sure that you're comfortable with the recipe and the time frame. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that we have these jars done. This is something that is going to be tricky to debubble. You can definitely do it. You can definitely try and get your utensil in there, but it is going to be difficult. So what I do is I just kind of like shake the jar like this, and it releases all those air bubbles out of there. So when you have something that's like larger, like a carrot, or in this case cherries, if you just wiggle the jar, it often just releases all the air, so you don't have to worry about using a utensil. Those look good. I think some of these might be a little titch overfull. This one's definitely overfull, but I'm just gonna make sure that I have the right headspace, get the lids on and into the canner. So here I've got my paper towel, and I've just put a bit of vinegar on the paper towel, and I'm wiping down each of the jars. This is absolutely one of the most important steps in canning, in my opinion, because when you're working with sugary products or products with lots of fat, it can hinder your actual seal if you have anything on the tops of those rims. So it's a great way also to check and make sure there are no imperfections or chips or dings in your jars before you start canning, because the last thing we want is a jar failure. And so this part is super important. So all the jars had lids and rings, and now I've put them inside the canner. I'm just checking the seal of the lid there to make sure that it's good, and we are going to put them into the canner, put it on, turn it on the lock, and hit play. It's gonna then heat up, and once it comes up to a rolling boil, it will start the time. That looks pretty good. I'm just gonna get a cloth to put on this. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, but it's colored. So that means I've had some siphoning or a jar is broken. And I think it might be siphoning. Here, you can actually see it happening. Do you see that? The liquid is literally just pouring out, oozing out of this jar. I don't know why this happens every single time I water bath can in the Presto pressure canner. And yes, it's a pressure canner, so I understand like you're supposed to pressure can in it. Sorry, I broke my hair tie, so I don't have one right now, but I just don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Like maybe it's just not meant for this task, and I just need to accept that. They look really nice though. Hopefully all of the seals hold and it's fine, but Yeah, that siphoning just seems to happen every time I water bath. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong or if I can actually do anything different, but yeah, it just seems to happen every time I use this as a water bath canner instead of a pressure canner, and I'm not sure why. But I'll give you a look at the water just so that you can see. So it's kind of like purpley tinted. I don't know if you can really see that, but I don't know. You can hear the drawers popping now. So that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It was pretty basic, just trying to get some fruit put up on the shelves. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on whether or not I'm gonna continue using this canner as a water bather. It's just kind of defeating when you go through all this effort to not have it turn out right, and even though you're following all the right steps and stuff. So I'm just gonna keep my options open with it. I still have my old pressure canner that I can use as a water bather, so maybe I'll just have to start doing that. But I can't do that on my stovetop. I have to do that outside on a fire. So I don't know. We'll see what happens and I'll keep you posted. But thanks so much for tuning in to this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.